But yeah, as far as business goes, it's impacted how we communicate
It
with our
has certainly.
clients.
So
Yeah.
you're using the whole video conference thing.
Half the time,
oh yeah.
half of the time, and then a small portion of the time there are seniors who really do want to meet us face to face. So then you have to take all the precautions and do the 6-foot thing and meet outside. So it's kind of a different thing when you have to stand out in the hot sun for an hour and try to go through the paperwork, which is just glaring with the reflection of the sun. You know?
Well, that's how much you sacrifice for your clients.
Oh, absolutely.
It shows the superior service that you have.
I know. Now I know to bring umbrellas.
So share with us about Open Mortgage and any new things you might be doing. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so Open Mortgage, I believe we're in 46 states right now. In Hawaii, we operate the Honolulu branch office. Our focus is solely on reverse mortgages because there's so much to it. There's so many things going on in our industry that for us, it's the best way to make sure we don't miss anything. And that way our clients will get the best service possible, as well as all the partners that we work with, including you folks.
Right.
Yeah.
And you've been doing this for quite a while now. You have the experience.
I know. So I let my hair go white to show all the experience. But,
that's the wisdom.
Yeah, I'd like to think that. So right now it's 14
years.
Going on 14 years. I know, and Paige is at
3.5.
3.5.
3.5 years already.
Yeah.
I know.
Just yesterday she was at the university. Now it's 3.5
Right.
years.
Right.
Oh, gosh.
It was kind of slow for her, but for us, it goes by faster.
I know.
We're older.
Right. Time accelerates.
Right.
And now you have a great story of how you got into reverse mortgages. And for those who haven't heard from you yet, maybe you can share that story.
Yeah, it was, I'm a math teacher. 16 years I was teaching math in both public and private schools. I love math. And the thing I love about math is I'm a problem solver. And I like to share my passion for problem solving with my students. And one of the important things about problem solving is, number one, you have to understand the problem. And then number two, you have to know your options for solving the problem. And then the third thing is you need to pick the one that best satisfies what your need is, you know. So I was teaching this for 16 years, and then when it came down to actually applying it to my parents' particular situation, I failed badly. So number one, I was under so much emotional stress that I don't think I fully understood the problem. And I don't think anybody actually goes through, like, there's no course that teaches you, you know, if you're the power of attorney for your parents, you really need to consider these things, right? You need to look at quality of life issues. You need to make sure that they're happy and comfortable and, you know, can be at peace. All these different things, right? I don't think about, because I'm a math teacher, I'm looking at numbers.
What
I was looking
happened
at
to
the
your
costs.
parents?
What is that?
What happened to your parents?
Oh, my parents, they both, thank you. So my parents, in my 15th year of teaching, my dad lost his independence because he had a stroke. And he expected to go back home and finish the yard, and he never ever saw his house again. So he ended up in a care home. My mom, 1 year, I think it was the same week a year later, she lost her independence because she had an aneurysm, and then she had strokes that resulted from the surgery to clot the bleeding. So I had to figure out, I'm the power of attorney, I have 3 other siblings, but you know, I had the responsibility. And having the responsibility means you gotta make choices. And I was not prepared to make the choices because nobody teaches you how, right? I'm looking at the money. Right. My focus was on the house, the equity in the house, like, but how are we gonna access that and use it? And I ended up selling the home after refusing to learn about reverse mortgages because I thought, like a lot of people, that it's a sham, you know.
So if you had known about reverse mortgages and you were able to do it for your parents that time, what would have been the result?
I think I would have had more peace because I would have examined the product better, right, and look at what it could have afforded my parents in turn. And I think it would have done a lot for them. It would have allowed them to stay in their homes, the home that they had built from the ground up. It was a beautiful home in Aiea overlooking Pearl Harbor. My dad and mom were almost there for 30 years. So he wanted to go back home. I said we couldn't afford it. But I think if you know, if we had examined that option, whether we actually did it or not, I lean towards actually doing it. I think we would have done it because it would have afforded us to renovate the home in a way to make it safe for them.
Right.
But even if we didn't, at least in my mind, I would have known that we looked at it and we considered it, and maybe it didn't turn out to be the right one, but we did that for them.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, how many more years do you think they could have had enjoyed living at home if you did it?
So my dad passed away almost 4 years after
Okay.
he had his stroke. So he would have enjoyed
4
that
years.
time
Right.
in the home, and that's precious time.
That is.
And I know it would have made a difference because he fell into depression when he was in the care home because he wanted to go back home. And at the care home, you know, he was surrounded by the unfamiliar. There was no privacy, right? And there's people coming in your room to take your blood pressure all the time. He was in a room with several other people. There's all these noises. There's other people coming to visit, and he likes his private time. He didn't have that, you know. So he would have enjoyed his last years a whole lot better if he was in his home.
In a nutshell, without going through all the numbers like a math teacher, give us an idea of what a reverse mortgage is, just so that our listeners are, you know, tracking with us here.
A reverse mortgage is a financial option for senior homeowners who are at least 60 years old for the proprietary and 62 for the government, the federally insured HECM. It allows the most common form of this reverse mortgage is the HELOC form, the home equity line of credit, and it allows the senior homeowner to tap into their equity without having to worry about making a payment back to the lender until they permanently leave their residence. So they can use their equity for hiring people to come into the home for additional care, for repairing their homes, for whatever purpose they wish. And it does not impact their income.
Right.
So they can keep, normally when you have a mortgage, you have to make payments back to the lender, monthly payments. With a reverse mortgage, they can actually keep that money instead of paying it to the lender. Yeah.
So like, I like it when you say there's a forward mortgage and then there's a reverse mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
And so whereas forward mortgage is you're paying money back into the property plus the interest for the loan. Reverse mortgage, you're taking money out of the property plus the interest that goes to the lender.
Right.
But you're not having to make payments because you're taking it out of the property.
Yeah, so what I always mention to my borrowers is this, that when you get a reverse mortgage, you must understand that you're spending your equity.
Right.
That you're, unlike when you first buy your first home, you're building up your equity because you're making payments back. But when you get to retirement age, and if you want to tap into it and spend it, then a reverse mortgage is a great way to do that.
That's great. Well, Wendy, when we come back, we want to discuss with you and Paige what are the options and benefits that somebody can have when they do a reverse mortgage. So we'll talk more about that right after this commercial break.
Welcome back. If you just joined us, we have Paige and Wendy Oshiro. They're working professionals with Open Mortgage. And right before the break, it was a great introduction to reverse mortgages. Now, since Wendy did the talking in the beginning, I'm going to transition over to Paige, and let's continue that conversation about reverse mortgages. And, when someone takes out a reverse mortgage, Wendy had mentioned that they could use it for perhaps they're paying for their care, doing things to their home to help extend their stay there. What other things can people use their funds for?
That is an excellent question. So those two things that we've already discussed are more on the practical side, but we've also had clients who actually use their reverse mortgage funds to do some fun things. Like we've had clients in the past where they choose to use a portion of their reverse mortgage funds to do the things they really dreamed of doing in retirement. So we've had people, they can't do this now because of COVID, but in the past we would have people use some of their funds to go on cruises or to go on trips to go see their grandkids. A lot of quality of life things that seniors may have wanted to do, but maybe they couldn't do before because of cash flow concerns.
So it's kind of like it's for their use basically because they're not having any additional income, so that's their stream of income coming in that they obviously can use for. Are there any restrictions to those funds?
That's also a great question. So as Wendy, my mom, mentioned, the loan proceeds are it's the senior's equity, right? So the senior borrowers have the freedom to choose how they would like to spend their loan proceeds. So that's why they could choose to use it to help pay for in-home care. They could choose to use it to go on trips. They could even choose to not use it right away. A lot of our seniors actually use the reverse mortgage as a retirement planning tool. So they might not need any extra cash right now. But the great thing about, at least for the reverse mortgage, that line of credit option, is they can let it sit on the side. And a cool thing about the reverse mortgage line of credit is that it actually, the amount of equity that the seniors can access in that line of credit, it increases over time. So it's a really terrific option for seniors who are looking to establish an emergency fund, maybe for the future in case they need it.
So I think that's a good point to bring out, that they don't have to use it. It's available for them should they ever need it. Right? And I think that's a great point. Now, I wanted to ask, again, we're in the time of COVID. We're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. But how has that affected reverse mortgage? Have you seen, again, because of being stuck at home, perhaps some of the seniors were still partially working? Have you seen an increase of people looking to do reverse mortgage because they need that extra income or safety net?
We've always had a lot of people inquire. I think more children or adult children are encouraging their parents to do it. And I'm not sure if it's because a lot of these are Ohana families, right? I mean, they're multi-generational in one household. If one of them suffers, and they all kind of help in, pitch in, so everybody, the resources get spread out. So other than that, it's been pretty steady all throughout. Have you noticed any difference?
I've actually seen a slight uptick in inquiries from, not from actual consumers, but from like financial advisors and other professionals who are trying to look into more varied solutions for their senior clients.
And what would you say is the common challenge or you mentioned, right, Wendy, in the beginning of when you told your story, like you thought reverse mortgages is a sham. I mean, what would be the common challenge for people, I guess, contacting you folks to learn about these reverse mortgages?
Lack of understanding, but you know what? People seem to be more open now.
Yeah.
They're a lot more open than they were before, looking at other options. I think because with forbearance, with just the financial situation for so many people, they have to look at options because other doors have closed on them. Because the lending requirements by lenders now are a lot more stringent, I think, than they used to be. So it's just getting tougher.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. I mean, the lending guidelines, right? And obviously, with for mortgage, you're looking at income, credit, etc. How does one qualify for a reverse mortgage?
So for the reverse mortgage, we do look at their credit reports and we do look at their income, but for different reasons than the forward mortgage side does. So we want to make sure that the reverse mortgage is a sustainable solution, not just a Band-Aid fix, a temporary one where they have to sell their home in a few years. So in order to do that, we need to make sure that they have enough sufficient income so that if they say they spent all their reverse mortgage funds, that they still have something coming in to pay their property taxes and homeowners insurance, because that can be one reason why they foreclose, right, if they don't make those payments. So we look at the capacity to be able to sustain these payments even after if they use all the reverse mortgage funds. And then the second thing is we look at their credit report, because not at the scores, we're looking at their credit history. Are they on time with their payments? You know, because if they're in the habit of not making payments on time, that's when they can get in trouble with their property taxes and homeowners insurance. So in order to assist our clients in that, when we do see these, I guess, deficiencies, we create what's called a life expectancy set aside. It's basically a property charge set aside. And so we take a portion of the reverse mortgage funds, set it on the side, and then the lender's servicer makes the payments on behalf of the borrower for a certain period of time to ensure that they can stay in their home longer. Yeah.
May I add on to that?
Yeah,
So to clarify what Wendy mentioned about the property taxes and homeowners insurance. So with the reverse mortgage, borrowers do have responsibilities, just like with a forward mortgage, but they're different. So like with a forward mortgage, you're responsible for paying your principal and interest every month, and if you don't do that, you can get foreclosed on. With the reverse mortgage, the requirements are different. So with us, with the reverse mortgage, you don't need to make a monthly principal and interest payment, but you do need to pay your property taxes and your homeowner's insurance. You have to stay current with that. And if you're in a homeowners association, you have to continue to pay those dues. And we like to explain it to people, like with the reverse mortgage, you still own your home. And because you're the homeowner, you got to keep up with your regular homeowner responsibilities. And that's extremely important. So we make sure our clients are educated about that, because if they failed to do those responsibilities, they could get foreclosed on.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not paying towards their principal and interest in the beginning. So when does that take place? When do they start paying back the money that was taken out?
So the loan is called due when they permanently